do you think they're making clones like bodies and then somehow passing the consciousness to the next vehicle so these people are getting extended lives? Or do you think that it's more that they're creating clones, but they only have a small gene pool
Mm.
to work from? And so when they do them, that they get these similar people, like they're similar looking people
Mm.
because they're all coming from the same recipe. If you
Yeah.
put it that way.
You might find, I mean, I saw this years ago that it was sort of a family tree, and Brad Pitt, funnily enough, was in it. I think Brad Pitt, Madonna, Tom Hanks, they were all actually distant cousins of the Rothschilds and the royal family, and you could connect them all. So I wonder if that is a way of them, if they get another go, like Highlander, but they make a new vessel, and as you say, the consciousness is uploaded to that.
Mm.
So that is a possibility because you get to come back and have a go doing something else.
Hello and welcome. Campbell here from Autodidactic, back with Guy Anderson, author of Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids, isn't it? Not babies, is
It
it?
is
It's kids,
kids,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
YouTube channel with the same name. Go check it out. And yeah, this is sort of part two on clones. We sort of got into, the orphans and the orphan trains and what was going on in the 1850s. But today I thought we'd get into what's going on now? All
Mm.
these pictures we see of, doppelgangers. We've got like the historical ones. We've got, at the moment, like Hollywood celebs who look like they're from the same clone machine, right? Um, all this weird stuff going on. So we'll get into that. So welcome, Guy. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on. It's great to chat to you again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think people enjoyed our last chat, so
Mm.
we'll continue the conversation. So you've obviously done, a lot of research on this. You've got a book about, with the cloning stuff in it. What do you think? What's your perspective on what's going on with all these doppelgangers and historical
Mm.
sort of I guess we call them doppelgangers.
Yeah.
What do you think is the phenomena there? Do you just think it's just random and people end up looking like each other after so many generations, or do you think they're vampires or they're clones? Or what do you think's going on?
Well, I've asked this question to a few people, and normally the narrative that I'm given, I think must be the scientific one, and that is that there are only so many types of form
Yeah.
that the human face can take. But I just don't believe that. I
Well,
don't believe that for a moment.
it's interesting because there's a lot of photos back in the early 1900s. Families used to have 10, 12 kids, right?
Mm,
And you can still see the photos, and they all look different. Like
yes, they
you,
do.
you would think if you were going to get like matches, that would be the first place you would see.
Yeah.
We get twins, obviously, but that's obviously different because it's from the same egg. But yeah, I kind of tend to agree. We must have all seen, I don't know, a lot of people in our lives, right? Tens of thousands, but have we ever like gone, oh my God, that's exactly like this person?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. And it's interesting that the name is German, and you've got kindergarten and Doppelganger, both coming from Germany. The postcards, the Cabbage Patch and repopulation postcards were popular there. Some people say they started there. I think there's a connection. I think that that Germany was a Tartarian superpower, and that they had cloning technology. That I think the reason we the Allies flattened Dresden and places like that was to destroy a lot of this technology and a lot of the architecture and get rid of the people too. So I don't think it's a coincidence that doppelganger is a German word. And
Mm.
it's a strange one, the whole doppelganger thing, because they say that it's unlucky. Mythology says that it's unlucky to
Oh,
meet your own doppelganger.
oh.
And I have.
And yeah, yeah, I think you told the story, didn't you? Like you got
Yeah.
stung by a girl or something, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. It's really, really strange. But it's a week after that happened in Oxford Street in London. I just got randomly slapped for ignoring someone. And the following weekend, I was in Oxford, and there was this man sat on a bench with what appeared to be his girlfriend. And he not only looked like me, but he had the same. I had hair then. He had the same haircut. He was wearing similar clothes, and we froze. We both froze, and my friends stared at him, stared at me. She stared at me and him. We couldn't quite figure out what was going on, and we just smiled at each other. I started to walk away again, carried on walking, and that was really really odd because it was more than just facial
Yeah, yeah.
similarities.
Like
He
traits
actually
almost.
was, yeah, same build,
Which,
everything. Yeah.
which is interesting because when you get like organ transplants, people take on who receive the organ take on the traits of
Yeah.
the person they receive. So I'm wondering if it's some kind of energy thing. I guess if it's DNA, I guess that's energy, right? Frequency at its
Mm.
base. So that's yeah. I mean, I get told. I've been told a few, but I don't see it. So I told me I look like the lead singer of of Deep Purple, and I've had a
Oh,
few
right.
things. Brad Pitt, of course. I get that all the time. Gosh,
Yeah, I've heard that. That must get on
yeah.
your nerves.
Oh man, beating the girls off. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I feel for you. I feel for you. It must be horrific. And I suppose
Oh,
people want selfies with you all the time.
I know. It's God. What can you do though? It's a curse.
Yeah. And I bet you could probably list his children as easily as he can.
Oh yeah, man. I have to know all his facts. Got to play the part. I can do his autograph. But yeah, this is the thing. Like, yeah. So doppelganger. So actually, let me bring up. I've got some stuff to look at. Oh, hang on, it's not there. Um, what are we going to have? Oh, we'll have a look at some. I've just got a couple of short videos. If my computer wants to work. About clones. So
Right. Okay.
let me just, sorry guys, I'm still working. My computer's going very slow. Okay. All
I
right.
recognize that, Sam. I've
The
heard that one
music,
before.
that music,
Yeah.
man, everyone uses that music. All right, here we go.
You cannot convince me that what they did to Walt Disney by freezing him is not what's been going on for centuries with other celebrities.
When you take a now famous person and compare it to paintings of famous people in the past and they look exactly alike with the same medical conditions, it really raises an eyebrow. And it's just crazy how some of these old paintings or posters just capture a certain essence of a person's personality. You could guess who that was if you didn't even compare it. You don't see it though? An old king of Spain and Mark Zuckerberg? Okay. Damn, Justin, you should grow that beard out again. This is one I know a lot of people have seen. Tell me it don't look like him though. Doppelganger, clone, vampire, I don't know. All I know... Oh, that explains a lot. Maybe there's a little drug that helps them not age. Though sometimes I can see it being a stretch. It's just times like this where they look too much alike. I mean, he's just a bit fluffier. And maybe they swapped genders. I don't have all the answers, guys. And the list goes on. Maybe they're of the same bloodline. Maybe they've been drinking blood. Maybe they're... Oh, I know it is said we all have 7 people who look like us. Yeah, I've heard it before.
Diddy has a clone. Apparently there's this thing spreading around where people are saying that the person that's actually in jail is not the real Diddy. Let me catch you up to speed. This is a real photo of Diddy. Notice the markings on his face. They're very prominent and they are from the real Diddy. However, in this mugshot right here, you do not see these markings at all. So people are claiming that whoever is in jail, allegedly, supposedly, is not the real Diddy. This photo always terrified me. There's just something off about this photo. To make matters even more weird, Diddy's private jet is still flying around as we speak and making stops in various locations around the world. Just a few days ago, his private jet was spotted at Auckland Airport, a spot normally reserved for private aircraft. This is from the account Celebrity Jets. They're actually tracking P. Diddy's private jet flight path, and this is when it was landing at New Zealand. And 2 days ago, it was at Honolulu, Hawaii. This is the actual private jet that Diddy owned. And you can see him getting off this private jet here. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Like the first one, obviously, it showed the historical ones. And she mentioned Disney. Like, I remember when I was a kid, like everyone knew that story, right? Walt Disney got frozen, like in cryogenics, so they could resuscitate him at some point.
Yeah, and apparently the same time that the story Frozen came out, and apparently, so I've been told by a few people, that the reason for bringing the film Frozen out is so when somebody types into Google or any search engine Disney and Frozen, they're hit with the film and the story and not anything to do with him.
Yes, yes. Interesting. I noticed that like years ago with they brought out a cartoon El Dorado, like this decades ago. And I was at the time trying to look into El Dorado, right? The Golden City.
Yeah.
And all that came up was this stupid bloody cartoon. So I think they use that tactic a lot. I've seen it more than once where they take over search terms. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Frozen, because people were Disney Frozen. Yeah, right. Disney Frozen. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, are we talking here about these people being frozen and then brought back into the future? Or are they cloning? Yeah, the Bruce Willis one's a good one, isn't it?
There's some good ones.
Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous, that one, isn't it?
Isn't it, right? And so yeah, what was he frozen and then brought back at some other time to continue his role? Is this sort of keeping them on ice, right? It's even a saying, right?
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, I know, it's a popular one, isn't it? But the one of my favorites is that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Is Mark Zuckerberg and King Charles II of Spain. I mean that the Zuckerberg and that's a strange one. Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
Some of them are really good, right?
Yeah, and the hairline as well.
Exactly right. Some of them are questionable. Like a lot of the time it's just that, they've got similar hairstyles or, But some of them, there you go.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah, the Hasbergs. Yeah. I mean that's
even the eyes, right? The way that they're sort of off, drooping down in funny ways and same expressions. You can tell this guy wouldn't have been the life of the party, would he?
No, absolutely not. And I think he had quite a few problems as well. I think he drooled. He had problems eating. Because of the incest that took place through their family, he had all sorts of problems.
Yeah. So, what are we thinking? Frozen? Are we thinking? Because obviously the other, popular sort of theory is that they live for a long time, right? They live longer than us. So they're vampires or they've just got extended life like all these people we read about in our history books, right? All the pre-flood people and all this are all living 600, 700, 800 years old. And it's like Highlander, right? Remember the movie?
Yes, Highlander? It is. Yeah.
And like every 50 or so years, he would just change identity. He'd just create a new identity. And he would leave all of his possessions to this new identity. Just change over, and he'd just keep going, right?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to know, but I lean more towards them being cloned.
Yep,
I do lean more towards that. But films like Highlander, just for example, I mean, somebody came up with that. Now, is this again plain sight? Is this information being hidden in plain sight? Are they getting this out there to us? So, following the universal law or karma, they're telling us the truth, but in a very strange way.
Mm.
It's impossible to know for sure, isn't it? But I lean more towards cloning than I do anything else. And we know, if we look at, you know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Anunnaki, and what Enki did by creating, you know, if that's true, and it seems to be repeated in lots of different cultures, then that technology, the ability to clone, has been there forever.
It's literally how, you know, in that narrative, that's how we got here. So
yeah,
literally forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and the Highlander thing's interesting, that they have to cut off the head, right, to kill them.
Yeah.
And then we have this big narrative, you know, you see it all the time in like Futurama and Simpsons, like these heads in jars, right?
Yes. Yes.
I wonder if that's some kind of link, right? Because, like, I don't know, are they the fallen ones and they've got their heads in, you know, in hope that they'll get the technology to reanimate them or something? But it's an interesting link.
So do you think then it's possible, if they are able to live for a lot longer than we are, that they'll fake a death and then they go somewhere?
Well, yeah, this is the other bit, and I don't have pictures for this, but this is, you know, this whole, you know, Jim Morrison became Rush Limbaugh, Jimi Hendrix became Morgan Freeman. I mean, and there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think it's Fittest Flat Earther does a lot of these comparisons, and he sort of looks for the moles and, you know, looks at the ears and that kind of stuff. I mean, I would not, it's got to be considered, right? Like, definitely it's not out of the realms. You know, when you look into people like Jim Morrison, you know, his father was the commander at the Gulf of Tonkin, basically started the Vietnam War. And then Jim comes out as one of these big opponents, you know, like one of the big hippie people opposing the war. You know, rah, 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 has this, you know, they come out of nowhere to be, you know, one of the biggest bands in the world, you know, for the fun. And then they just disappear. They go for their 5-6 years, as all those bands did, and then they disappear.
Yes.
It's quite feasible. You know, he came from, you know, a military bloodline family. And there's also that clip of him. Have you seen it when he's in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what it's talking about. I think it's talking about being a good student or something.
Yeah.
He's this really clean cut, really you know, A grade looking nice, you know, student. And then a couple of years later, you know, he's this complete renegade, you know, alternative drug taking poet kind of dude.
That just doesn't happen. You don't change overnight. That's something that would take a very long time. You would be born thinking differently, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And also, you know, they say you're a product of your environment. So his upbringing doesn't reflect any of that.
Like I mean, they love to put out the narrative, and it's because there's so many, you know, military children are in the music industry. They're like, oh, well, they were rebelling against the stuff, rah, rah, rah. And I'm sure that happens once in a while, but you don't really see it when you're brought up in a military household. I'm guessing it would be pretty strict.
Yes.
You would know nothing else. Everyone else that you knew would be military, so they'd all be the same. So you would pretty much be brought up, you know, in a certain way. And I don't, so, you know, it's a possibility, but yeah, I doubt it. It looks much more like he was brought up, he was the kid in the video, like the black and white. That looks like a military raised child, right? Very clean cut, very, you know, well-mannered, well-spoken student. And then I guess after that they went, oh, he can act. Hey man, you have a gig, trying to play a rock star, you know.
So what do you think we would find if we looked in his, if we were to, you know,
this is the thing,
exhume him?
Probably
an empty box,
with a note in it saying, ha ha, I got away with it. This is the thing, right?
We got the Frank Zappa and Nikola Tesla one as well.
Oh, what's that one?
Well, there's a few conspiracies about. So first of all, a lot of people out there claim that Nikola Tesla was played by Frank Zappa, because until relatively recently there weren't really that many images and that much information on Tesla, and that Frank Zappa was actually paid to play the role of Nikola Tesla and have photos taken in different poses and so on. And then there's another. Sorry.
So like retroactively, are we talking?
Yeah.
Because obviously Frank Zappa was alive after, you know, a lot long after.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
Tesla.
So they're saying,
okay.
yeah. So the theory with that is that there weren't any images of Tesla around until relatively recently.
Okay.
And actually, people weren't really talking about Nikola Tesla until, in the way that we are now, until lockdown. And if you look at the Facebook groups that have been formed, and there are quite a few big groups, you know, into the hundreds of thousands of members and followers, they're relatively new. These aren't as old as Facebook. So Nikola Tesla, for someone who was around a very, very long time ago and was a pioneer, as far as we're aware, in technology, and, you know, the father of alternating current. Why is it only relatively recently that we've been starting to talk about him?
Yeah.
If you look on YouTube, podcasts about him, they're all relatively new. These aren't old. So that's a possibility. But there's another really good one, and that is Nikola Tesla. You know, the story that his hotel room was broken into by John Trump, Donald's uncle.
Yep.
Takes the files, gives them to the FBI, but keeps the 3 files that relate to time travel for himself.
Time travel, yes.
They reckon, and I've been told this by a few people, that Nikola Tesla went back in time and brought a younger version of himself back with him, and that person became Frank Zappa.
Wow. Okay, there you go. Jeez, that's a twist.
A few people have argued that the ability to travel back in time hasn't been invented yet, but there is scientifically a way of traveling into the future. Now, I don't know the technicalities of any of this, but if that's true, if they haven't yet worked out a way to travel back in time, then that would suggest by definition that in the future they could, and then they could travel back to wherever they liked.
Further.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people think that, you know, the orbs and the aliens and things are time travelers. But I mean, that's weird, right? Because the past, you would think, has happened, right? There's some kind of energy signature there. You would think it'd be easier to travel to the past than to the future, which hasn't happened, right?
Yeah.
But that's the whole Project Looking Glass, right? Which came off, is it the chronovisor? Is that right? The
chronovisor, yeah. Apparently in the vaults of the Vatican.
Yeah. And they
see any moment in history, couldn't it?
Yeah. The guy who invented it said he saw the crucifixion of Christ, didn't he? Yeah. And then the looking glass, and there was a story going around, I guess 2020, that they were using this to look into the future and obviously to make changes now to affect the future. And then they got to a point and they couldn't see any further. Do you remember that narrative? And I think it was around 2020. They're like, they can't
go any further
at this point. So, you know, they don't have control anymore, kind of thing. And then Trump, the time travel, right? The last president, you know,
exactly.
Von Trump, like there's,
and
that book is the same as well, right? What is it, 1897? But no one had heard of it. And maybe 2016, I'm guessing, would have been the earliest when Trump first got into office. But, you know, no one's ever heard of it, right?
No, I know. And now everyone's talking about
everyone's talking about it. So
there's the 3 books, isn't it? What's the name? Is it Ingersoll Lockwood or?
It's something like that. It's some strange kind of name. But I mean, the thing is, this was found online.
Yes.
So this is a book that was written by this guy who only wrote these 3 books, as far as I know. So he wasn't like an author. He wasn't well known. He didn't. It said that the book was a failure. So who's found this book? Gone through, photographed it all, every single, and uploaded it to the internet.
Yeah.
How did it get on the internet?
Yeah.
I mean, like, seriously, right? Like, who would do that?
Yeah.
Like,
And of course, one of the books is The Last President, isn't
the
it?
last president. I think
And
that's
I
the
find it
last one. Yeah.
very strange. And then you've got the connection with Musk. So my theory is that John Trump hands the files to Donald, and Donald is sharing that with Musk, who I don't believe is the great inventor we've been told he is, but he works with some amazing people,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what's going on there. But are you aware that Warner von Braun, the founder of NASA, he
Was
also wrote a novel,
yes,
and
with Musk in it, where he went to
yeah,
Mars.
yeah, little Elon goes to Mars, yeah.
So Elon goes, yeah. Well, that's interesting, right? Because Musk, obviously Tesla, right?
Mm.
Tesla, car company. He uses X a lot too. You've got any,
Yeah,
why does he
marks
do
the
that? Do you
spot.
think X marks the
I
spot?
don't
That's all I
I
got.
don't know, but it means something, doesn't it? He
It's
doesn't
got
do
to.
anything by chance. That means something.
I'm not sure that he does anything by decision, right? I think he's been raised for this position.
Hmm.
There's even videos around that you can find where they're interviewing his nanny from when he was a child.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man, and she's. I mean, I haven't verified. It looks, I've got no reason to question. I haven't verified that it's all correct or anything, but they're interviewing this lady. She's like, yeah, I raised him when he was a kid, and she said he did this very bad thing. She doesn't say what it was. He did this really bad thing when he was young, and and she goes, I asked his mother one day, is Elon the Antichrist? He looked at me and goes, oh, no, he's not. He's just preparing the way for the Antichrist.
Wow.
So
His mum's a strange looking character as
his,
well. I
his
mean,
mum's,
is
yeah,
she
she's
still model? Is
still
she modeling
modeling in
still?
like late
Mm.
70s, apparently. Lots of very strange habits, like his ex-wife Grimes, like these people who hang around.
Mm.
Oh, what's that lady? Who does the spirit cooking, all that kind of stuff. She's kind of
Mm.
tied up in that. His father,
Yeah. Was he an engineer as well? He's still out in South Africa, isn't he? His father.
well, he owns the largest emerald mine in Africa. So he's bloodline, and he's also, I don't know if he's been convicted, but he's at least, a lot of people have said that he's a kiddie fiddler, shall we say.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
we've got that
This all
on.
this is all tying up, isn't it? It's all
Yeah,
tying
it's the
together.
same story, right? You always hear the
Mm.
same story. These bloodlines, lots of money, weird parents,
Mm.
these geniuses. You know what I mean? Like look at bloody Bill Gates, right? His
Oh,
parents were a couple of weirdos. They started Planned Parenthood. If you don't know
mm.
what that is, go check it out. And he's clearly walking along and trying to bring that idea and that reality to fruition, right? Look what he's been doing for the last 10 years, running around with
Yeah.
arm spears, putting them in everywhere. He's been kicked out of India because he's unalived
Yeah.
so many people.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
so it's the same story. So
Yeah.
Elon, I mean, yeah, man, he's right into it. The whole Trump thing.
Have
It's
you heard the Gates and Melinda? It is Melinda, isn't it? His wife,
Melinda,
Melinda.
yeah, Melinda,
Yeah.
yeah.
That they are role reversals, that he's actually the woman and she's the man. I've seen that a few times.
I've heard that. I mean, he definitely looks, not very
Hmm.
manly, doesn't he?
Mm.
And it's funny, the older they get, the more they start, like the men start to look like old women, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And the
Yeah.
women start to look like old men.
Yeah.
Like
I
go
tell
and
you,
check out the wives of the presidents, like through the
yeah.
ages, and oh my God, they all look like old
Yeah.
men.
Clintons are a good example of that. Hillary and Bill Clinton. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at them now, that's a good example. But there's another really good doppelganger worth looking at, and that is Laura Rockefeller and Robin Williams.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you seen Taylor Swift? Have you seen
Don't
that
think
one?
so. No, I don't think I have.
So it's let me just bring it up. It's Taylor Swift and Anton LaVey's daughter, I think it is. Let me see, daughter. Do you know who Anton LaVey is?
No, I don't.
He is basically he was the head of the Church of Satan in
Oh,
America.
crikey. Crikey.
Yeah,
Isn't Chelsea Clinton involved in that? The Clinton's daughter.
she could be. It's just been revealed that this whole Doge thing again. Here's our friend Elon. They discovered that she received $80 million from this US AIDS. Like, man, those dudes were spreading AIDS everywhere, right?
Oh.
But this is
That's back, isn't it? The whole AIDS thing. The Prime Minister here, Keir Starmer, he went and had an AIDS test publicly this week.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've no idea what's going on
They're
there.
trying to push it. Oh, that's not a good image.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this is Taylor Swift. And this
I
is
see it.
Zena LaVey, the Satanist. So that's an interesting one, right?
Well,
And same thing.
that,
I think Taylor's like
yeah,
20 or 30 years younger.
yeah. We are looking at the same person, aren't we?
It looks like it.
Yeah. Type in Laura Rockefeller and Robin Williams. That is that's worth looking at. And the fact that it's a Rockefeller is yeah, that's just connecting dots for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get a bigger image. So Laura's obviously not around anymore. There we go.
No.
Wow, that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if they have the technology to clone, I would say it's certainly in the hands that I would believe it would belong to. You know, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Orsinis, all of these.
For sure. So another question, do you think they're making clones like bodies and then somehow passing the consciousness to the next vehicle so these people are getting extended lives? Or do you think that it's more that they're creating clones, but they only have a small gene pool to work from? And so when they do them, that they get these similar people, like they're similar looking people because, they're all coming from the same recipe, if you put it that way.
You might find, I mean, I saw this years ago that it was sort of a family tree, and Brad Pitt, funnily enough, was in it. I think Brad Pitt, Madonna, Tom Hanks, they were all actually distant cousins of the Rothschilds and the royal family, and you could connect them all. So I wonder if that is a way of them, if they get another go, like Highlander, but they make a new vessel, and as you say, the consciousness is uploaded to that. So that is a possibility, because you get to come back and have a go doing something else. So if, let's say, for example, that Tesla was Frank Zappa. So Tesla dies, and he one of the dying wishes is that he wants to come back and he wants to be a musician, working with, because Frank Zappa wasn't just a musician. He understood, he was a scientist. I mean, he was working with, he was using science.
And his dad was CIA, wasn't it?
Yeah. So you can connect more dots there. Another interesting one is Billy Carson. I'm not saying that he's been cloned, but his backstory is, again, military. His father was really high up in the US Air Force, and now he's talking about things that his father was probably involved in that would have been classified. So I wonder if this is an opportunity for those people that have this technology to come back and have another go. This time I'm going to be an actor. This time I'm going to be a musician. This time I fancy politics.
Well, that they're always in these positions of power, aren't they?
Yeah.
Positions where they get worshipped or they have power to wield. It's not like there's people who, meet their doppelganger, and you see these photos of similar looking people. but we don't really hear a lot about it. The ones that we hear about and that we see are the famous people, and of course, people say, "Well, you see them more often, so you know what they look like." But it still doesn't make sense if it happened at the same rates for non-famous people. You'd see it a lot. There'd be doppelganger pages all over Facebook and stuff, and people would, like, so yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Have you seen?
No.
Do you know who Ben Shapiro is?
Yeah.
Have you seen that? So this girl's called Brett Cooper. Can you see?
Yeah, I can.
So they both worked at the same news from what it was called, but they literally look like twins, like
yes, they do.
Twins. So that's why it makes me wonder, like, are they creating clones and they've just got this small set of DNA to work with, and they get these people that look the same? Because she came out of nowhere, got a job on this news outlet when she was 18, got her own show, and like literally within months, up into the millions of subscribers and hundreds of thousands of views on every video. And of course, Ben, we all know Ben, right? He's very outspoken. We know what his connections are, the hat that he normally wears. So, and there's a few examples of that. Actually, I've got a couple pictures here. Is this it? I think celebs, and this, this sort of gets into replacement theory too, right? Like Avril Lavigne,
yeah,
right, and this is her now. Apparently, looks like a different person, right? Pretty similar. And this is a big conspiracy too, because Avril Lavigne, the skater boy, when she came out, she was all this alternative punk sort of grunge girl and hated pop music, never wore makeup, didn't wear dresses and all this stuff. And she did one album, and then the next album it was a pop album, and she was dancing around with makeup and all done up.
Yeah.
So it was very strange. Have you seen this one? This one, can you see this? Brad Pitt?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, when I first did this next one is even better. Look at that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Like, I saw one of these videos pointing it out, and then I watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's a good film.
And all I could see was Brad Pitt. Every time I look at this guy's face, I'm like, oh my God, that's really Brad Pitt. So there's so much, in this topic, right? Like, is this one person playing two characters? Are they clones that happen to be from the same gene pool, obviously? So
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Courtney Cox and that dude, I forgot what his name is. He's a Satanist as well.
See, I don't know if it's just me, because I've asked my wife this a few times and she doesn't see it, but Jennifer Aniston looks remarkably like another actress whose name has completely escaped me. Have you ever seen the film Paul, about the alien?
Yeah.
So the actress in that, whose name's gone, Kirsten, can't remember. The actress from the film Paul. Okay. Whenever I've seen her, is it Kirsten or Kristen? It's gone. Whenever
isn't it Kirsten? Amala, is that her?
No, no,
that's not right. Oh, actress. Hang on, I'll just write Paul. Hang on, from movie.
So any film that I've seen with her, is it Kirsten Dunst or something? No,
Kristen Wiig.
That's it. That's her. So sometimes I've seen her in films, and I think every now and again I think I'm looking at Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah, right. It's and this is the thing, that there's a lot of these, right, where these actresses and actors just look similar. I don't know. What do you reckon, guys? Oh, that one there.
There's a good, yes, the one you're on now. Just every now and again I see her.
Yep.
And I don't know, is it me?
See, this is the thing. I think we're seeing. That's why I wonder if they're creating these clones, you know, like
Well,
from
that's what
the same.
Donald Marshall says.
So is this, you know, we talked about the, you know, the 1850s, the baby incubators and cloning and
Mm,
all this kind of stuff, and how they might be the ones that we would call NPCs, the ones without
mm.
the voice in their head. Is that, are they the elites? Are they still doing that? Is it a much smaller population than we thought? And they're creating themselves constantly, but we're not. And that's why we're seeing all these doppelgangers for famous people and all these famous
Mm.
people that look similar, but we're not seeing it in the bigger population. Do
Yeah,
you think that's a
that is, yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, we've mentioned a couple of times about the Google app. I think it's called Google Arts and Culture, where
yeah?
you download it, take your selfie, and that hunts through paintings and old photographs that are in museums and places like that to see if there's anything similar.
Mm,
I tried it, I found nothing. But Donald Marshall is someone everybody should look into if you're interested in cloning. Member of the well, his family member of the Illuminati,
okay.
and
The guy who's been putting out messages like lately, and he's
yeah, but
saying I'm falling
apparently,
apart and blah blah blah, and he's trying to.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but some people say that he died in 2012, which I don't believe because um, I think he's very much still out there, and I've just been reading one of his books. I've just got it off Amazon, and he explains the whole process of selling your soul. So when these celebrities want to be, you know, these big stars, whether it's a musician or an actress or actor, that the deal is that they sell their soul, and of course most people wouldn't believe that. They're thinking, "Wow, I'm selling something that doesn't exist." But actually, what they're doing is they're selling the rights to be cloned, and
Yes.
that yeah,
I
and
mean,
that the cloning centers is where all of this stuff goes on. So they you know they so let's say for example you had and he's been mentioned by Donald Marshall several times. You've got King Charles, the King of England.
yep.
So you've got his clone will meet at the cloning center in Canada tonight when he goes. So when Charles goes to sleep and enters REM, his clone comes alive, and his clone can then do things at the cloning center with the other clones that he can't do himself. All acts of depravity, you know, some really morbid stuff. And Donald Marshall says that because he started to speak out about what was going on, what they started doing was uploading the memory from the clone into Donald. So reversing it. So they'd stab and cut up his clone and then upload that to him. So when he woke up in the morning, he'd have chest pains or he'd feel like he'd been beaten up in his sleep. And he was constantly going to the doctors in his 20s, thinking that there was something wrong with him, that he was terminally ill and they couldn't find anything.
Mm.
And then apparently he was told by Charles's parents, Elizabeth and Philip, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, that they were uploading what they did to the clone the night before to him as punishment. And that when Britney Spears shaved her hair off and sort of went a bit mad,
Yes.
and she's brought videos out and songs out about cloning, and that was as a result of her clone, because she wasn't towing the line. Her clone was forced at one of these centres to watch a series of quite brutal murders. Now, this was someone in Canada that was out there killing prostitutes, and they were taken to the cloning centre, and certain clones were forced to watch this. Some wanted to, but others were forced to. And one of Donald Marshall's clones was actually attacked and tortured, and they used the photograph of that on the Megadeth album cover a few years back.
Wow.
And that's Donald Marshall on it, and you can see he's covered in blood, and that's a
interesting.
Megadeth album cover. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that. Sorry,
I saw an interview with Dave Mustaine, is that his name? The guy from
yeah, Megadeth.
from years ago, and he was talking about Satan and how Satan's beautiful. Everyone thinks he's this evil, you know, dude, and he's ugly, but he's beautiful. He's got the light of it, and like he was into it, man. So that's interesting, and that's another weird link, right? All these bands and actors, actresses that they're all into the devil horns, aren't they? And they're satanic, 5-point stars, and all this, all into it. So is that some kind of the ritual? Is that tied? Because selling your soul, if we're talking clones, are they just transferring the consciousness literally to another body, right? Like because I heard the story that a lot of celebrities have these clones. The one I heard was that they do it themselves, right? So Jennifer Aniston will make a clone of herself, and then she basically rents it out so people can do can imagine what's to it, and they make all this money, and then I guess when it's broken they make another one. So I mean that's a story.
They just make another one. And the clones also they apparently the clones are used to do all sorts of things to children. So lots of children are abducted. They take them to these clone centers, and
it'd also be a perfect way to get evidence on people, right? Blackmail them, use their clone to do stuff and film it, and you can blackmail the original.
Right. There's an interview. I think the channel's called something like Sports Center on ESPN. And it was this is 2012, which I think was the year that Britney Spears shaved her hair off. And the cloning centers, people talking about clone aid in Canada started coming out. Kevin Hart was interviewed, and he said during the interview that one of the first lines is, I go on Twitter, there you are. I go on Facebook, there you are. I put my TV on, there you are. How do you do it? He said, and he just says, well, I've been cloned. I wanted to keep a secret, but it needs to come out. I've been told I can say this. I've been cloned. There you go. He's not laughing. He's not joking.
Kevin Hart is the dude from King of Queens, was it? The big sort of...
Well, he's been in loads of things, hasn't he? Central Intelligence with Dwayne Johnson.
Lots of movies, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
the mall cop guy, the sort of bigger, blundering.
No, Kevin Hart. No,
he's dude. The black dude. That's right.
Yeah,
yeah,
comedian kind of. Yeah,
yes, Kevin Hart.
Yeah, and he has actually come out and said that. But there's an American rapper called Kid Boo, which is Buu. Now he's worth watching on YouTube. You will find him talking about the fact that he is version 2 of his clone. That's fascinating. He explains exactly how it's done, because with Kid Boo, some people say he's from Florida and some people say he's from Canada, and he said that the reason for that is that he was born in Florida, but the clone that you're talking to right now was made at Clonade in Canada. I am version 2.
Well, guess what? I happen to have that video.
Could actually freeze your body.
Well, what happened with my first gen is they took the skull because he initially had written in a will to the Raelian movement that if something were to happen to him, they can ship the skull over immediately to Clonade. So they can remove a fragment of bone that's located here, and then this fragment of bone stores all of your memories and consciousness, and with that they can make a sufficient replica of yourself, a reproductive version of you, including your memories. And you can be selective as to which ones you keep or don't keep. And this process has been around for quite some time. Like Dolly the sheep was cloned back I think the late 70s, early 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Dolly the sheep, yeah, I remember that. And they cloned a lot of animals.
Well, there you go.
Clonade, don't want to say too much.
So he's literally saying, definitely 100%. And Dolly the sheep, I think he was a bit early. I think Dolly was more like 89, late 80s.
Yeah.
And they cloned her. They've cloned more animals.
Yeah.
You can get your dog cloned for, I think, 50 grand. When it dies, you can get a replica made.
President of Argentina has had 5 dogs cloned.
Wow.
He had an English Mastiff called Conan, and he paid $100 a pop to Clonade to have 5 and there are photographs of him with them.
Wow.
So you think he spent $500,000?
The technology's there, you know, the
Yeah,
artificial wombs.
yeah.
We've got people telling us this is what's going on.
Mm.
We've got celebrities losing their minds. And we've got Kanye West, who looks like he goes in for
Yeah.
every few years.
Yeah,
Britney
he does.
Spears.
Eminem as well. He doesn't look like the same person.
No, Eminem suddenly changed his whole look. And this is something they do, right? Is he's come out with a beard. And he'll wear that beard for a few years and then he'll shave it off and people will have forgotten how he looked pre-beard, you know.
Yes.
They
yeah,
did
exactly.
that with the Beatles as well when and that's, you know, I don't think Paul was cloned, but when they switched him out, they changed the whole look of the band. They all grew their hair long and got facial hair just to sort of cover it up a bit.
Yeah.
So
Paul McCartney's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's there's a video out there of him on an airport, like they're going to like a private plane, and I think it's him, his wife, and I think it's either George, maybe they're both there, George and Ringo and their wives, and one of the wives walks up to Paul and goes, "Oh, how you going, Billy?"
Oh,
Billy Shears, right? This is who used to be, and his wife, the Heather, was it the one with one leg?
Yeah.
Remember they got married and everything was amazing, and then she suddenly came out and she just left. She almost popped away, right? And when they asked her, she just said, "He told me something that I could never forgive and I could never get over." Like, and that's all she said. So
yeah,
was right.
And didn't he go from being right-handed to suddenly left-handed? Wasn't there something with that as well?
Yeah, this is one of the things that's the Beatles used to be able to stand. So the arms were going opposite, and I was one right and left. And so this is what they say is he had to learn to play the bass left-handed when he took the job. But I think it's, you know, when he plays piano or some other instruments, you can see that he's actually not left-handed.
Yeah, he's right-handed. Yeah.
So it's a lot of stories. And we're at an hour already. And
oh my God,
that went quick.
Where did that go?
We're going to have to do a part 3. I'd like to look into this president guy that you've mentioned, and maybe we can have a bit of a dive into clone aid.
You know, the Cabbage Patch dolls is another one that I've been studying. That is bizarre.
All right.
Backstory to that is worth hearing.
All right. Well, let's do that. All right. Well, clone dogs, buddy, Cabbage Patch Kids, and other weird things. But
oh, and for the people out there that think that clones can't reproduce, Dolly the sheep did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's and that was, you know, 45 years ago, over 45 years ago. So you can imagine the tech that, you know, they would have been able to develop in that time, let alone what they already had, right? So
Korea is a hot spot for cloning.
Yeah,
there's a lot being done out in Korea.
And I mean, we'll get into it in the next one, but we can go to the Bible. You know, the second creation story, because there's 2 creation stories in the Bible, but the second one is Eve was created by Adam's rib, from his rib.
Yes.
Are we talking DNA here?
We're talking DNA. Yeah, remove a rib. It's easier. The healing process and less intrusive. Yeah.
So it's a story that's been with us from the very, very start, right? So I think we'll dive deeper next time. So that was fun. That went so quick. I can't believe it.
It did. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I'll leave links below, guys. Go and buy Guy's book.
Thank you.
Cabbage Patch Kids. Well, I'll also link his channel. He's done some good interviews and things that he's putting up. So go and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Leave us a comment. Give us a like. Subscribe if you haven't. All that kind of stuff. And we'll catch you. Well, hopefully next week we'll come back with a part 3.
Yeah, let's do it.
A lot of cloning. Awesome. All right, mate. Well, good to chat with you. And
and you.
We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on again.
No, man, it's been fun. I'm enjoying it. I think we got a few more of these, and it's such a
I think so.
So
keep
down that rabbit hole.
All
right, awesome, mate. Well, have an awesome day, and I'll talk
and you. Take care. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Remember in the end, Nobody wins unless everybody wins.